What's up, everybody? We are back at Around the Mat Pod, and I am your host, PJ North. It's a beautiful time to be a wrestling fan, as always. If you're watching us on Twitch, thanks for joining us, man. I know it's crazy. I invite everybody live and check it out. And we had our most viewers last week live on Twitch, which was cool. So shout out to all y'all checking it out. Hit that subscribe button or like or whatever it is there. If you're watching on YouTube next day or any day after, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out. We're trying to get subscribers, get people to watch the pod and listen to it. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, don't forget to leave us a review and share it with your friends. However you do, that's always easiest for me. I'm appreciative. Thank you guys so much. A lot to talk about in the wrestling world. A lot of things happening, obviously, WrestleDream. But before we get to that, one thing I always do, and I forget to do it, is Wrestling Tea of the Week. And this week, I've got Texas Tornado. I'm not sure. I was just telling Tyler off air. This is the first wrestling tee that I remember wearing live for a show during one of my sets. One of my gimmicks is wearing a different wrestling tee and a pair of different Jordans at every show I perform. And so it's pretty cool. This is one of the first ones I got. I can't remember where I got it, but it's a repro, one of my favorites. So I'm going to do that every week now. Shirt of the week, T-shirt of the week. And we've got another great T-shirt and another great friend of the pod, my man Tyler Miller, back. TY. Tyler, how's it going, baby?
It is going good, man. I had a good pay-per-view this weekend. Raw, Dynamite were excellent. The wrestling train keeps on rolling, man, and I couldn't be any more.
It is a great time to be a wrestling fan, as we all know. It's pretty crazy how wrestling is so far back in the mainstream now, right? My friends are asking me, I'm getting wrestling on my feeds now. I'm like, that's what you get for following me. All the wrestling stuff. So it's pretty crazy, man. But yeah, like you said, pay-per-view last weekend, a lot of things to chat about, all things wrestling related. And let me pull up our headlines for the week. We're going to talk it out. Let's see what we got here. First headline of the week is Raw and SmackDown are night and day. And for me, I just feel like, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but Raw was exceptional on Monday. I think I fast-forwarded maybe one segment, and obviously I skipped the commercials because I watched, maybe I started an hour or so after. I got caught all the way. I mean, it was incredible. I thought Monday, I was like, damn, this is flowing really good. The segments are well-paced. Everything was great. In SmackDown, I didn't see a single minute of SmackDown. I'm not going to lie. I missed all. I was traveling, obviously, but I got to my parents' house in Ohio, and I turned SmackDown on, and I think I was like, I don't even want to watch this. So for me, Raw and SmackDown are just other than the fact on SmackDown you have Cody and Roman and the Bloodline, there is nothing else on SmackDown I want to watch. It's bad as that is to say, that's kind of how I feel right now. Maybe that's just because I'm not interlocked in there. I really enjoyed Andrade and Carmelo's thing because I love a good match series. But at the same time, I'm like, why is Austin Theory and what are they doing now? I don't even know. So I don't know. What about you, man? What are your thoughts on Raw and SmackDown right now?
I agree. It's definitely a night and day difference. Raw with moving to 2 hours. I think it's only been one or two shows, and I think they
second
really,
one.
Yeah, I think the second one they really improved. Whereas the first
leaps
one
and
felt
bounds.
rushed.
Yeah, exactly.
And for some reason, it makes me feel like being both shows are 2 hours now. I feel like SmackDown, they needed to step their game up anyway, but I feel like they really do now because I feel like 2 hours Raw, everybody, a lot of people are tuning in, watching the full thing, not fast forwarding like you mentioned. And I feel like SmackDown's got a lot of good key players, but it's just they're not capitalizing.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think other than the top, and the one thing I will note that I thought that was great about Raw is that obviously it was taped because everybody's in the UK right now. So it was the taped second half of St. Louis. But what I thought was really great is they had these vignettes that obviously filled in the time during the live that they didn't show during the live show, obviously, right? They only did a 3 hour or maybe 3.5 hour taping, and then they filled it in with vignettes on USA. And I was like, damn, these vignettes were great. They were I was like, this is so good. Like this, just the way it flowed. The Braun Breaker segment where he's wearing the jacket, and I was like, damn, this is really good. The American Made thing was good, and I hate the name American Made, but I thought that segment was good. So all in all, I was like, damn, maybe they should tape every 2 weeks. That'd be awesome. I don't know, or at least
The
try to
crazy
keep it
thing,
in that same pacing. I thought it was really good Monday.
yeah, crazy thing that I just really thought about for Raw being most of it being taped. I really didn't see a lot of spoilers. Usually when stuff
Exactly. That
comes
was the
out,
best part. Is like they kept it open, and I thought that was pretty good. You used to see that all the time, like, oh, here's the next, and it's like, I don't care. I don't want to know that. I want to watch.
yeah, but I think it was good. I think SmackDown's definitely got to step their game up. One big thing for SmackDown, which I used to really be into what LA Knight was doing, not so much anymore. It's
Yeah.
kind of been
He's the
watered down.
champ still, right? So he's gonna face
Yeah.
Andrade or Carmelo, whoever wins that series.
Yep. Hmm.
We've talked about. I've said this a lot. Is that the factions that they have are so just for me, there's nothing there for me. I used to love Legado del Fantasma. I still think El Hijo del Fantasma is incredible. Or, Escobar. But I think I'm like, I don't want to see them or LWO or any of that shit again. It's so bad.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Theory and Waller. I think it's bad. I think DIY needs. I don't even like the DIY stuff right now. I really thought that the War Raiders should have went to SmackDown because they could use the help on tag teams there. And I also feel like that's the one thing about Raw is I don't know if they're like the Alpha Academy thing, man, has to die at some point, right? Like they're
Like,
not the Alpha Academy
absolutely.
anymore. Why are we doing that? I don't know. So that's just nitpicky shit anyway. But I do think SmackDown also being on Friday is really hard because if you're going out or you're traveling or whatever, it makes it hard to. And I don't want to watch I don't want to watch Saturday morning typically because I'm watching College Game Day or whatever right now. So it's really hard, in all honesty, to watch Friday Night SmackDown. I also don't like Michael Cole with Corey Graves, man. I much more prefer Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett right now. I loved Michael Cole
Testator's grown on
with Pat, but I don't know.
Testator's really grown on me. I didn't
Yeah,
think like when the first few episodes he was on, I felt, and I think they're trying to go towards the sport feel,
yeah,
but I felt like I was watching, something on ESPN, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
just different,
Uh,
right? It's an adjustment.
Absolutely. Something else on Raw that it's just got to go. I mean, why did we go back from the Wyatt Six like they're debuting? Now they're doing the random flashes during matches and stuff. Like, what is
I'm
going on?
glad that you brought that up. I'll just say it here. I get it. I appreciate that we're doing this thing for Bray. And I'm going to give you. I forgot to give you points right off the rip, but that's a 5-pointer just for you right off the rip. I would say for me, I just think I get it. Like I said, I get it for Bray. I appreciate the struggle that I'm sure Bo and folks are going through with that. I obviously I haven't had that situation, so I don't know. But it's terrible. The Wyatt sucks. I've said this. I say this in the chat all the time. It's why it sucks. I think it's terrible. It's not good. They've done nothing with it. They have delivered no long-term plan. There's not any. I just kill it. I get it. It was cool for a second. Now it's not cool, and that's my opinion. Again, creative is subjective, as they say. But for me, man, I could care less if I never saw it on TV again. That's just me, though.
Shame.
It's a big thing too. Is that the other piece is that Bray, obviously the 2K24 thing just came out with the Bray Wyatt edition. So I thought they were going to play into that because obviously they do product placement and all these things. I really thought that they were going to go into that, but it is what it is. For me, it just ain't. It ain't happening. So
I think they kind of dropped the ball with the 2K thing. Like, why not wait until next year? Maybe put him on the cover, give him more than
yeah, I don't know
just
what
like
their deal was,
UFC.
especially because they just got announced as PlayStation monthly games too. So I don't know. Are you a 2K guy? You play 2K?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, so this for the podcast listeners, if you're not a 2K, you can skip this part, but I love 2K. I play it. That's my most played game on PS5, hands down. But I am a universe guy. I live in the create a character. I download. I build my own. I am very into the universe of other wrestlers who aren't in WWE on the game. I love it. I think that the play space is cool. They do a lot of great stuff. They have a lot of glitches that I only probably I notice. I could be the QA guy for universe mode, but I love it, man. I'm a huge fan. What mode do you play in? What are you playing?
Honestly, I like playing online, but it's like it's so glitchy, and if you use any kind of custom stuff,
Yeah.
it's even worse.
Yeah, see,
Um,
I can't do I don't do online. I just can't get into playing random people online anymore. When I was younger, I used to do that all the time, like on college basketball. But yeah, I never got into it. And that's probably my most frustrating thing with 2K right now is the my faction stuff. I can't even get certain things because I don't have the card to win it. Like I wanted that Scott Steiner my faction card so I could get
mhm.
the Scott Steiner on the game. That's the only way to do it is if you win the tower, right, or whatever. I can't even play it because I don't have the Sami Zayn amethyst card, and I'm like, this is trash. This is
That's
bullshit.
crazy.
Fuck you, 2K. I buy all
Yeah.
your games. This is trash. Yeah, man. On my 2K, it's so funny. I was looking at 2K19. I had like 496 hours or something tied into
Holy shit.
2K19. I was like, damn, I was playing that game a lot. Yeah, man, I download versions of Okada. I've got like 16 I've got three. I had one point I had three different Great Mutas on there because you can only do two alternate outfits, and I had like all the alternate gear. Yeah, man, I'm super weird about it. That's where I live in the universe mode. I actually have a TikTok called PJ Plays PS5 where it's universe mode, basically me doing announcer voices because I do a lot of voiceover work for other stuff, and so I just do that. It's just kind of like a fun outlet. I do the same thing on 2K. I actually play a fictional college basketball series on NBA 2K. So
That's the thing. It allows you to be, especially WWE.
yeah,
It allows you to be so creative.
a
And I
thousand
mean, like
percent.
there is a like a little stunt deathmatch type organization
Yeah,
in my area, and even those guys are on there. And
yeah,
I'm
dude,
like,
it's
dude,
it's crazy. Everybody's on there, man. And there's guys that like do when I was younger, you could get there was a cause.ws or something like that where it was all of the creator wrestlers. It would show you how to create them because on the old games you couldn't download images, right? Like back in the day. So like I would have SmackDown, SmackDown 2 and I'd be able to create a version of whatever because these people and you would show you what the color you're supposed to have, what the face structure you're supposed to have, all those things. And I've been obsessed with like the creator wrestler functionality since basically before I knew Fire Pro existed. And then when Fire Pro came out, man, I had one of those I had like a thing online or you could it was like a disc that you had to buy. It came with a USB drive where you could download stuff online to then put on your memory card to use in like different modes. You could do it for college football. They always had like the rosters with the names or whatever. But Fire Pro had like a WWF 1990s version. It'd be all these wrestlers that people created on this thing, and you could download it and then put it on your memory card and play. And I was like, dude, Fire Pro blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And so then obviously WWE got more into that because I think people like that creatability to be able to play, So
oh yeah,
I've yeah, man, WWE 2K. I can't believe I just gave them so much pride. I love the game. I can't say other than the glitches. Yeah, I'll tell you this is so stupid. This is tell you how nerd out I am on it. If you're playing a universe mode, and let's say so I had a WCW 2000s mode where I downloaded a bunch of 2000 guys to go with some of the stuff they had, and so you use the WCW ref, right, where he's got the blue shirt and the bow tie. But if you do a rivalry action on universe mode, it automatically changes the ref back to a WWE ref. It's so annoying. They just give you the generic. I'm like, why? I go through all of this. I'm very, very detailed. my storyline is very pertinent, and I need the referee to be correct. It's so silly. I'm like, man, 2K, hit me up. I could be your QA team. Anyways, all right. Next one. That was a long one. Thank you. I like to talk about wrestling video games, so thank you for that. Next one. This is a big headline that everybody saw, and I think obviously if you're online, you saw it. But Brock Lesnar is never, ever coming back to WWE. I don't know if that's true, but there was a report out this week that maybe they were in talks of bringing him back. Then there was other reports that there's no way he's coming back. Nothing's changed. I obviously hate the dirt sheets because none of them are journalists. They're all a bunch of cucks. But it makes for good conversation. What say you? Brock Lesnar, are you a fan? Do you want him back? What's your theory on the whole idea?
um, I wouldn't mind seeing him back. I mean, there's really, I don't feel like there's a whole lot left for Brock to do in WWE. Of course, with some newcomers coming along, I I really would love to see Brock versus Braun Breaker.
Okay,
That would be a smasher.
sure.
And also Gunther
Yeah,
and
I think
Brock.
that's the one I really want. If I was going to see something, that's what I'd really want to see. Just because they had that Royal Rumble moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And I mean, who knows if he'll come back? There's so much shit going on with McMahon, Laurinaitis, that whole bunch,
yeah,
Lesnar. And I don't know how much like proof for any of that stuff that they have about Lesnar. It's
sure.
all hearsay, I think, at this point. But I mean, could I go without seeing Lesnar again? Probably so.
Same.
Uh,
That's kind of where I am with it. I get it. His music's epic and it's awesome, but like, I could, if he doesn't come back, whatever.
yeah,
I mean,
I'd like to see those two matches, but besides that, I mean, you can keep him pretty much for me. I'm done
yeah,
with it.
I get it. The only thing I'll say about why I thought he might actually come back and that report might be true is, so I bought that knuckle crunchers at at Costco, the big WWE thing that came out. Well, I was at Walmart, I think Walmart or Target maybe, and they have a smaller version that's not that Costco version. They have an individual version where you can buy individual wrestlers and the little ring. Well, in the little ring comes with a Brock Lesnar. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, they put enough thought to like Brock Lesnar's in this brand new figure thing that's aimed at kids. They've got to be thinking like, we're going to bring him back. In my
Yeah,
mind, I was like, that would make sense. But then also, like, there's like a year into production sometimes with those things. So, like, maybe they weren't thinking about it. But when that news came out, they obviously had to think about it sometime, right? Like,
right.
maybe this, I don't know. So, I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, I could care. I don't know any about contract talks or anything. And I don't think anybody does that says they do behind a paywall. But I will say, I think that Brock Lesnar, like I said, there's so many guys on the main roster now. Do we really need Lesnar? Like, what's he going to add for what? He's going to add for 2 months and then he can leave again? Okay, cool. I just think they get the same effect doing other stuff with it. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the part-time thing later on because I've got a question around that and what your thoughts are with that. Actually, the next thing we will talk about that. But yeah, Brock Lesnar, obviously when that music hits, it is epic. It was cool to see it after WrestleMania. After he beat Omos, right? The very next night, he F5'd Cody, and I was like, okay, this is a cool segue into that. They're gonna wrestle. My thing with Brock is he's great, but like what you're getting in his match. You're not getting anything. What are you getting? He's not putting on a 5-star, which is fine if you don't like fives. You like the beasts, and that's fine. But he's not going to work enough to make the storyline important. I don't know. So for me, it's like whatever. It's kind of give or take. I'm with you on that one. It's like hit or
Well, and I
miss.
think another big thing that's probably not working in his favor is a lot of the court stuff has actually kind of been put on pause from what I've seen.
Yeah,
And I think that WWE is probably trying to hold off on possibly bringing him back until maybe some more information actually
sure.
comes out.
Yeah, I mean,
Just my
obviously, right. It's all speculative on some of that stuff, so
yeah.
it's kind of like, well, we'll see what happens, I suppose. All right, last one, and this kind of leads into that. The Costco guys suck. I don't want to see. I this is a segue into all I see right now on in our feeds is the Costco guy, big guy AJ or whatever the dude's name is. A shout out to them and his family for taking TikTok, making money, and figuring it out, man. I'm all for that part of it. It's not for me. That's cool. I'm not judging him on that. However, I don't want to see him in wrestling. I get it that he used to be a wrestler as AJ Justice or Prime, whatever his name was. I don't want it. I don't need to see his kid doing the turn thing. I don't need it. It takes away from the wrestling aspect for me, which is what I love about wrestling. And I like some of the celebrity stuff, but sometimes it's a little too much. And in this AEW leaning with the Costco guy thing is like too much for me. I don't like it. Begs the question, two things. Have you seen this Costco guy? What are your thoughts? Second, what are your thoughts on the celebrities in wrestling right now in WWE especially? They're doing a lot of stuff, obviously, with celebrities and part-timers and those types of things. What are your thoughts overall? Do you like that it gives it the mainstream thing, or are you like, wow, what does it really add? What are your thoughts? Those two questions.
I do think it. I don't think it really adds, especially in this case with the Costco guys or
Yeah,
whatever. I don't think it adds much. I'll be honest. My brother he mentioned something to me about these guys coming to AEW potentially for a one-off type of deal. And I'll be honest, when you sent me the notes today, I had to look up Costco guys because I honestly had no clue. I knew the boom thing,
Yeah. See, I didn't even
but
know any of it because I've never seen a video, and I will continue to never see a video.
same. I'm not, I'm not on TikTok really at all, so I'm
Sure.
not too familiar with them.
Right.
As far as like the part timers things, or especially with celebrities, I think it's kind of cool when they're in the crowd. Maybe if you want to bring, like at SummerSlam, bring Jelly Roll up, a huge artist right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it makes sense
Everybody's
in that
familiar.
segment, right? It makes sense for the segment that they did.
Right, exactly. But to bring some of these other guys in, it's just like what's the point? I thought it was pretty cool, especially at Bad Blood, how they showed. Of course, Metro Boomin, Lil Baby was there.
Yeah.
A
That's the
few
thing,
more.
right? Is you're like showing these people who are actively in the audience. That's the pop. Not the
Yeah,
like getting them involved. I just don't think that initial pop helps the business down the road. Like
no,
I don't, and I'll tell you why that is because your algorithm that these people are seeing, if you are famous for saying boom on TikTok, if you post a video about you wrestling, your algorithm will not do, it will not show those people your wrestling thing because that's not what you do. That's not why people follow you. So I just don't know that it really helps in this day and age the way that it did in the 80s and the 90s. And it's still cool if they like wrestling. I like that part of it. Like Jelly Roll's a huge wrestling fan, and that's awesome. And I thought it was cool. Hardy's a huge wrestling fan, so it makes sense. The things that they do, right? And I think that part's really great. But sometimes I think it goes a little past where I'm like, and again, it's not obviously it's not aimed at me. It's to aim at the fans of Metro Boomin might watch wrestling, and like that's cool. But at the same time, I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like it takes away, and it's like it takes away from people who actually are doing this like for a living.
oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
can't imagine what it must feel like to be in the back at AEW and be like, God, I had to give up TV time to the Costco guy. Are you kidding me? Y'all couldn't put me in a match? Like that's got to be tough. I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
So either way, that was a conversation. It was kind of funny that it led into that with the part timer thing. But
And something to go off of what you said, I mean, especially back in like the 80s and 90s, I mean, they were bringing in like heavy hitters,
yeah, I mean, you're
superstars.
talking about it was a mega deal. They were on MTV, right?
Exactly. And I mean, when you compare the Costco guy to, back in the day, Cindy Lauper, Mr.
Right.
T,
Yeah.
Tyson, there's no comparison.
Right.
And I mean, it's a different day and age, but just let it go.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about influencer versus like someone
Megastar,
who's added something to the world. So shout out to the
right?
Costco guys, man. Continue to make that money. Secure the bag. I saw they played in the New York Knicks like celeb game. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. I missed the boat somewhere. I don't know what happened, but it wasn't in the cards for me. So shout out to them. All right, all fun in the headlines. But here's what we a big weekend, right? Obviously, WrestleDream happened. I'll tell you, Triller. We look. I'll just tell it what like it is. We split pay-per-views amongst the friends, right? We all split it. Saves us a little bit of money. We obviously want to watch. We all watch. We support the product. I support AEW. The group does, but we split it. Triller has ruined that for us. Triller put the block on us, unfortunately, and we're no longer able to do that. So I had to watch it post haste with the group, unfortunately, but it was awesome. I was able to avoid most of the spoilers. So overall, I thought it was great. I surprisingly, it turned out good with the card. Obviously, like we talked about, it wasn't a ton of storyline stuff in there, but it was a great job to build on a monthly pay-per-view perspective, right? Because they're doing a lot more pay-per-views now, so it's hard to build stories long, continuing. But they did a great job. I thought overarching that it was a good pay-per-view. I actually enjoyed the finish. Bryan Danielson obviously needs surgery. He can't continue to wrestle. He said that in interviews, like, "Hey, my legs are giving out during matches. Like, I can't physically do it." This is a great way to get him off TV for an extended amount of time. Like, he's not going to be on TV for a while now. That's perfect. And Moxley's thing is really cool. I like this new version of Mox. I was surprised that there was no one else involved. and I thought that was cool. The Yuta thing is, I'll tell you, like I said, I think that the fans on Twitter sometimes do a better job explaining stories in simple terms than AEW does, or WWE sometimes. Sometimes you're like, I don't get it. I watch every week. I have no idea what they're talking about. And they find those things. And so, like, it's good to get context, right? And they were talking about, well, Bryan Danielson left Yuta to get destroyed by Okada. He also left him out of other things, and they picked on him at the beginning of BCC and all this stuff. And so I thought that was good, man. I know some people didn't enjoy the finish, didn't like it, but he beat him with a wrestling move, and I thought it was good. So, yeah, WrestleDream overall, I give it a B. I thought there was a lot of good matches. I thought Mariah May and Willow tore it down again. I think Willow's really, really great, and I think Mariah May is I think she is a superstar. She has overtaken every female that they have in the company. She's done she's great in the ring. She's great on the mic. She's really, really good. So I appreciated her match as well. Young Bucks versus Private Party was good. So overall, I thought but I think the match obviously that stole the show was Konosuke, Ospreay, and Ricochet. That was my favorite match. That was another 5-star. Konosuke deserves the belt. I love the Fletcher add to it. I do wish, and we'll talk more about this about AEW Dynamite. I mentioned this in a group chat, that I just don't think that the factions do a lot. And so I thought that was a cool add that Fletcher came out and cost the match. So overall, like I said, I gave it a B. I thought it was really, really good. I enjoyed it. What about you?
I would probably give it a B as well. Honestly, there was some like the storyline aspect of it. Some was there and some wasn't. The Moxley thing that was great. Probably my favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
The stuff that he's doing, especially last night, the intro to Dynamite.
That's what I was just gonna say. We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that because I was just gonna talk about that.
But like you said, Mariah and Willow, that was a banger. Mariah, like also you said, she just came in and took the company by storm. Not Tony Storm, of course.
No pun intended.
Exactly. And of course, I know she was doing her thing all over the world, especially in Japan. But she's one of of course, her and Britt Baker. She came in and kind of been killing it right off the bat, and really turned herself into a superstar.
I really think that I think that Mariah's giving the impact that they thought Mercedes was going to.
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing with Konosuke Takeshita and Ricochet and Ospreay, I mean, it doesn't get
the
as far as
Doomsday Device into the reverse of the Doomsday Device was I was like, holy shit.
I mean, as far as wrestling, it really doesn't get much better. And then you throw in at the end of the match the whole thing with Kyle Fletcher going on, and I think he's pretty underrated.
Yeah, I mean, well, Fletcher obviously, yeah, like you said, underrated is a perfect example because he was in a tag and they were a great tag. Then Mark got hurt, and then he kind of was trying to find where he was going to go as a singles because they weren't really sure what was going to happen with Mark Davis. And I think he's a true star. I think him and Ospreay are going to have a great feud. They're going to obviously put on 10-star matches, right?
Yeah, and I think like that promo he cut, I would say it's probably about a month or so ago on MJF when before. Dude, that was one of the best promos I've heard in a long time, and for it to come from someone like Kyle Fletcher, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Overall, I think the pay per view was pretty decent. Could have done without a few of the matches. The
Jericho.
2 out of 3 falls with hologram, wasn't into that.
See, so here's my question about that. So I don't love Lucha Libre I mentioned this last week. I don't love Lucha Libre on American television. But when I see it other places, I'm like, damn, this looks really cool. I thought that match was good, but there was some stuff where I was like, you're like waiting for him to like do the thing, and it looks so bad on American TV because there's so many camera angles. There's no way to stop showing you waiting for him to whip, and you're going to, like, you know what I mean? Like, however, I thought Hologram's finisher was cool. So I thought the third fall was kind of fun. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but other than that, Darby Allin and Brody King, that was a pretty damn good match.
I'll tell you, I did skip that match, man. I'm not a Darby guy. I did skip it. I saw the finish, obviously, with the coffin drop onto the stair step thing, and then I saw the ending part of it, basically.
Overall, for me, I think it was even though it was a good pay-per-view, and we all know AEW, that's their thing. They put
Yeah.
on bangers for pay-per-views, but this one was a little less than that for me.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think yeah, it wasn't their best. I what did you think of the swerve segment?
That was really good. I was kind of expecting Lashley to come
That's why
out.
I
I
was
thought
like,
it
damn, I'm
was
surprised they did this whole segment and didn't have Lashley come out.
yeah, but of course, I think that also leads them to, maybe continue to build on that possibly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see in the future. But I was really expecting him to come out, especially on a pay-per-view like that. I mean, we all know AEW; they're
They
really
love the
crazy about
surprise. They love
the
bringing
surprises, two debuts in one night,
yeah.
all that crazy stuff. So I was
Yep.
really shocked on that.
Yeah, I agree, man. I like I said, and that kind of leads us into we'll talk about the next thing, Dynamite, right? So let me click the starter here. Dynamite was a perfect example of like the Beast Mortis hologram thing could have went last night. Like that would have been
Yeah,
perfect for that. Like I didn't need it on pay per view. The Jericho thing could have went last night. Jericho and gosh, I'm losing my mind. Briscoe.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, Briscoe. That could have went last night too. But so just to start it off, Dynamite intro. That's the first time ever I think I haven't skipped the Dynamite intro. I was like, "Hold, this is incredible." Moxley's promo, and when he said 150 wrestlers on the roster, my first thought was, God damn, we got to cut like 120 of those guys. Like, there's way too
Absolutely,
many wrestlers. Did they not learn
absolutely.
anything from WCW in 99, 2000? What are we doing? There's so many wrestlers. But I thought that was incredible, man. I was like, yeah, that sells it. That was awesome. Adam Cole returning. His promo, he's a babyface now, which is weird because they basically allude nothing to him being a babyface except for, hey, I got hurt, couldn't do anything as a heel as the devil dude, and now I'm doing this. Um, Whatever. We can skip it. We just act like it didn't happen. I'll be honest with you, and this is something. This is a cold take or whatever, hot take from people. The MJF thing, I don't. When he cuts a promo, man, it's like it's not that I hate him. It's that I'm like, I'm just kind of annoyed by it sometimes. And again, it's creative is subjective. And I just don't know that I'm super into it, man. But him and Adam Cole, but he can wrestle. He's a great wrestler. He obviously does good promos. But it's kind of like the promo he did at WrestleDream. I was like, all right, bro, his whole Bud thing that it's just like, ugh. Sometimes I'm just like, this is terrible. Skip. I know that's like a hot take or freezing cold take in the end, but I'm not saying he's not a great superstar. I'm just saying like some of this stuff I'm just like, ugh, whatever. But Adam Cole MJF was going to be great. Dynamite as a whole, the first it only took you could only watch the first 20 minutes and be like, sold, right? Then they had FTR come out there and wrestle, like, sold. Then they had Okada and the Young Bucks in the main event, sold. Like the problem with Dynamite is the other shit that's in the middle sometimes where you're just like, what are we doing? Because they have 150 wrestlers. But I did think that they did a great job continuing to move forward towards Full Gear. What say you?
I thought Dynamite was probably last night was probably one of the best ones I've seen in a while. Probably before like All In.
Yeah,
Um, like I mentioned before, the Moxley intro. I mean, I was getting kind of fed up with the Moxley tough guy, all this shit.
yeah,
All these backstage promos.
yeah. But that
I'm a
one was
beast.
way different, right? It set the
It
tone.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely had a different feel to it. I think putting him on the back of a freaking pickup truck, I think that was an
I thought that
awesome
was
feel
so
to
cool
it.
too. I was like, man, they should show every promo with this lighting, this coloring, and this vignette style.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that would be awesome, especially for the group that they have going, and I guess what they're trying to accomplish. But like you said, the middle of the show was kind of subpar.
Yeah.
I do think that the Jericho and Briscoe thing, I think that's. I mean, of course, I don't going after somebody who's deceased. I think that that should probably be left out of wrestling. I mean, can't you come up with
Yeah, I think
something
there's
more?
so many other things. I did think I'll tell you what, Jericho posted after after WrestleDream that he couldn't get it done and that he mentioned, that's the first time he's ever done a sit out pile driver.
Yeah, I seen that.
And I was like, damn, that's kind of why he did the J Driller, which is kind of like a sit out pile, it's a double underhook pile driver. And I was like, man, okay, maybe it was like an ode. And like like I said, I do think that everything Jericho does is to get Jericho over. So like,
Right.
and he gets it. He's wrestled for whatever. But I'm at that point where I'm like, bro, you gotta go. I need you to go. You gotta take some time away from TV. He used to always know when to leave, and it just feels like lately he hasn't left. But like you said, this is my whole point. Is like then they were showing like LFI backstage about to go after FTR, and it's like, okay, cool, I get that. But if we could like narrow down the feuds and the factions, if we could just narrow it down a little bit, AEW could really, really compete. I understand they're the alternative, and that's what people are going to say. You got to be the alternative. That's the old Jeff Jarrett thing with TNA. You got to be the alternative. Do you have to be the alternative all the time? Does it have to be completely alternative? Isn't it already just an alternative? Does it have to be, So I don't know, man, like with some of that too. And I think that's my thing with AEW. Like, I love pro wrestling, but one thing I hate about New Japan is that everybody's in a faction and none of the factions matter. That's what happens in AEW. Everybody's in a faction. The factions do not matter. Callis family should be running roughshod over everybody that Moxley and his group isn't destroying. You see what I'm saying? Like, they should be building up Konosuke and Fletcher and now Murder Hawk. They should be destroying everyone. But instead, they're like, well, we got to get everybody on TV. We got to get LFI on there. We got to get them on there. We got to get FTR on there. We got to get. It's just like, damn, man. Like, why do we have
And
to?
I think that is their thing with the factions because that's something that's really been a part of AEW pretty much since day one. And it's probably because, like Moxley said, there's 150
Yeah,
to 175 wrestlers on the roster. And I mean, I get you want everybody to get some exposure, to get out there, get
sure.
that TV time. But I mean, I guess it sounds, like shitty to say, but does everybody deserve it? You know what I mean?
Dude, at that, and I said that in the chat today. I was like, I just think like, I just don't think we need it. I don't think we need it. I don't know. And that's a great point. I will say the best part of Dynamite was Moxley nonchalantly elbowing Action Andretti after the handspring back elbow thing he was going for, and he just caught that elbow. And I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool. All right. That was a top 5 Moxley moment for me. I'm excited to see where the Moxley thing goes. I do think that they should run roughshod over everybody. And you should just completely reset as to what direction you're going with it. I think that makes the most sense. You can't have them lose. Don't have Cesaro go out there and lose. Don't have Yuta go out there and lose. Don't have Shafir. They need to just run roughshod over everyone and then do the Darby. I saw someone like compared the Darby storyline to the Sting storyline of the Crow Sting, that they may do it like that. And I'm like, perfect, because that was the hottest time in professional wrestling. NWO ran roughshod over professional wrestling for 83 weeks. That's what you're supposed to do. So I hope that they try that or something. Yeah, I'm not saying it has to be similar, but like that could be. I'm obviously not a Darby guy, but if you're going to give him the title, that's how you got to do it. You got to let Moxley just run over everyone for the next, and not even like. I'm not saying you can't put on banger matches, but you can't have those matches that he had before where everybody's getting in offense. It has to be dominant performance to really get me to buy into what you're trying to sell me. Because he was really trying to sell me on yesterday, and I thought it was awesome. I was like, damn, this promo is so good. So yeah, I don't know.
And with Daniel Bryan or Bryan
Yeah,
Danielson, whatever, losing the title, and I guess quote unquote not being a full time wrestler anymore, how do
right.
you think that he's gonna play back into that storyline? And like, of course, it's gonna be months down the line.
Yeah,
Hopefully, the
I
dude
think
gets
you have him
better.
come back next year at All In. Like he can go away for a while. You don't need him on TV. He's not drawing different ratings for you. It's not like it's
Right.
like drawing you a 2.0 and now you're getting a 1.0. You're still getting a 1 point whatever, and that's just it. That's is what it is, right? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. They got a ton of stars, though. I know that. If you were, this is a question I was thinking about earlier. They have right now. I can name 15 guys that they could have on TV every week, and they could build. That's all they needed, right? Moxley and all of them. So that's what, 4 people? Okay, so that's 4. Konosuke, Fletcher, Murder Hawk. Now that's Callis family, so that's 7. Okada, the Young Bucks, that's 10. MJF, Adam Cole, that's 12. Ospreay, Ricochet, that's 14. I mean, I'm already at 14 guys.
Yeah.
Then you have the women's division. Do you need more than that? FTR. Now you're talking about 16. Like, how many? You don't need everybody. Not everybody has to be on TV all the time. And like, that's really where I think that if they could just narrow it down and zero in where they're going, I think it's just like you could really, really set. Not that they haven't set the world on fire. Obviously, they got 125 million or 150 million for TV rights. Like, they're doing okay. But just like from a viewer perspective, it might be better, more fun if they did it that way. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with all that, man. And you would think somebody, especially like a seasoned veteran, especially who's been in this position before, like Jeff Jarrett. I
Yeah.
mean, he's got to be putting some input in somewhere. Like,
That's kind of my thought. I'm like, is he not giving any input? Like, hey, man, maybe we're doing too much here. We might
yeah,
be overbooking this shit. I've done this once, and we might be overbooking this shit.
right. Yeah, I
Um,
think TK needs some help for sure.
we'll see what happens. All right, great time, man. Obviously, we're big AEW supporters. I'm a big fan of all of it. A lot of things going on. Also, we didn't mention this last week, and I probably should. Or this happened last week. But shout out to Zack Sabre Jr. for winning the New Japan title. He's one of very few Gaijins that have ever won the New Japan title, so it's a very short list. Shout out to ZSJ. Someone said, I did see, it was like Bryan Danielson retires, and then it's like ZSJ wins title, and it's Bryan Danielson coming back. He's like, not today, motherfucker. And I was like, I love it.
Dude,
Man.
Saber Jr. He's awesome.
Dude, I really love his technical stuff. If you see him, he hasn't got, and he's one of those guys who says, you know, I could have left for bigger contracts. I could have done this, that, and the other, but I stayed because money's whatever. I love pro wrestling. And he's one of those guys that if you watch a match, it's really a cool story. It's a much slower build, obviously, right? He's not doing a bunch of flips, but he is such an ode to old school English wrestling, which I never saw as a kid. I never witnessed World of Sport or anything, but it's a really cool stuff that he does, man. He's a really great wrestler. That's another thing that goes back to the New Japan faction thing. He's a part of TMDK, which would normally be awesome, but they just don't do shit. It's like it matters none whatsoever to have a faction other than just like a gang of buddies who show up. Like to show how little it matters in New Japan, they have a group that's called Just Five Guys. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
That.
It's so bad. That's another thing for another day, but I will say this last thing is Sonata is the look of Ric Flair in the 80s. Like, he looks like the Japanese version of Ric Flair in the 80s. He could be that guy. But he has the personality of a wet paper towel, and his entrance music is even worse. So you're kind of like, damn. But anyway, he's wrestling ZSJ at Royal Quest, so shout out to that. All right, man. We're gonna do it again. We're doing, and you call yourself a fan, a little trivia time. We had such a good time last time, and oh man, I am so sorry. Look at this is what a poor host there. I got it fixed there for the viewers at home. But we had a great time with trivia, with the new trivia game, which I thought was really cool. I'm really interested in this version of it. So I'm gonna pull out some cards here. I got a classic. We're gonna kick it old school on one of them. We're gonna do a little new age as well, because I don't even, you know, some of the new age stuff I don't really know, because there was a time where I was obviously playing the video games, but I wasn't watching as actively WWE. I was watching basically everything else. So I'm always interested to see how these go. So a little trivia, and we'll kick you off first. You'll answer first on these, and then I'll answer first on the others. So big events. This is the classic. The matches of WrestleMania 2 were split across 3 cities: New York, Rosemont, Illinois, Chicago, and what was the third city?
I believe Los Angeles.
Los Angeles is correct. All right, championships. Randy Macho Man Savage won a tournament for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 4. Who did Savage defeat in the finals?
Man, I don't know this one. I'm going to say Warrior.
Ted DiBiase. The answer is Ted DiBiase. Sorry, I should have mentioned that the answer is Ted DiBiase. All right, Superstar Bio. What former NWA champion and WWE Hall of Famer delighted crowds by hitting opponents with his bionic elbow?
Good old Dusty Rhodes.
Lift him, baby, up. The American Dream Daddy. One of my favorites, man. I was a huge, obviously, I'm a huge Dusty fan.
Dude, his
When I got to
promos
see his
back in the
bio and
day.
stuff, yeah, man. So the DVD really changed. I really enjoyed the way I loved buy those WWE DVDs where they did the bios and all stuff. And obviously, I knew who Dusty Rhodes was because I was a big WCW fan. But he's just a great story. And yeah, man, those promos get you fired up, don't they?
Yeah, dude. Quick funny story about especially Dusty. Dude, when I was of course young watching WCW, of course a different time. My dad he made me and my brother sit down and watch Flair and Dusty's few of their matches that were like over an hour long, super slow matches too.
Okay.
And I'm like, Dad, what are we doing,
Yeah.
man? Can't we get Hogan and Sting or Goldberg? Like, what is this? But now I appreciate it.
It's crazy to think that, right? When they started versus, those generations as to watching wrestling to what people see. Like, if people watched WWE in '06, they were like, this ain't nothing compared to what it is now. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, our generation of that. It's wild. Kind of wild how that works, man. All right, I'll answer these first. This is the second set here. Oh, wait. Oh, this isn't a thing. I'm sorry. This was a card, not a question card. It says advance directly to WrestleMania. Go straight to WrestleMania space on the board. If you have 3 championship rings, you can now compete for your final championship. I don't know what that is because I don't actually know how to play the game yet. But so let me pick out another one here. Dang, I didn't realize there were playing cards and not actual questions. All right. Oh, here we go. Big events. I'll answer these first. Who was the first superstar that Undertaker defeated 3 times while building his 20-0 WrestleMania streak? And I only know this because it's despite Miguel, Triple H.
Triple H,
That's
yes,
it.
sir.
All right. Championships. When injury forced Edge to vacate his title, who won a 20-man battle royal for the World Heavyweight Championship in July of '07? I'm going to say, I have no idea this answer, so I'm going to say Randy Orton?
What year was it?
2007.
2007. I don't think it's right, but I'm going to say Swagger.
The answer is Great Khali. I don't
Even
even
worse.
remember this, but that's terrible. Yikes.
Yeah.
I should have picked a big guy that would have made sense. All right, superstar bio. What WWE superstar often finishes off his opponents with trouble in paradise? I believe that's the former Jamaican Kofi Kingston.
The Jamaican with no Jamaican accent, Kofi Kingston.
Didn't you used to have an accent? That's one of my favorite
He too.
segments. Oh, that's good stuff. Yes, that's the answer. All right, man. Those questions are kind of fun. It's amazing how much different this game is than the other, right? It's like obviously, different eras and different stuff, but kind of crazy how that goes. All right, trivia time. We did it. Kind of a fun game, man. One day we're gonna actually play the game live on the stream. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna figure that out.
You seen they have WWE Monopoly now?
No,
I don't
but
know if that's
I
a
gotta
thing.
get that. Where's that at?
I have no clue. I saw it on Facebook. I'm in a group where people buy, sell, and trade a bunch of different wrestling stuff.
Oh, bro, you gotta
And
add me to that
pretty
group.
sure,
Yeah, add me to
pretty
that.
sure I
Add me to
saw
that
that.
group. Add me to that group. Add me on
Yeah,
Facebook and add me to that group. I need that.
there's some cool shit on there, man, for sure.
I love that. I follow this new guy who does customs. I always loved custom figures as a kid. I always thought that was so cool, man. And now the guy does you can ask him and he'll do customs. Well, I would have 100% asked for a Muda figure, but now they're finally coming out with that Muda. He's going to have a chase, an ultimate, and a regular. And I'm like, I need all those for my collection. I have a small collection of ones that I really like, obviously. And there's another Muda Japan edition where it comes with the spraying mist, but it actually sprays. You can pull down the head and it'll shoot
Holy
out a
shit.
mist. And I'm like, I haven't bought it yet, but I eventually my collection will need to have it, so I'll buy it. But yeah, man, add me to that group. I need to.
Absolutely.
I gotta be on that group. All right, last piece here for us today. It is one has to go. Oh man, I did it again because we were still, blame Tank. We were supposed to be Tank. Tank Creddy was supposed to be here, but he has failed me. He left us hanging today, but that's all right. I'm not going to judge him right now. He probably had to sleep. The mailman. One has to go, and this week it is one has to go foreigner edition. So in our group chat, I was asked by I almost called him a friend. He's actually my mortal enemy. And he said, "Who is the greatest foreign heel of all time?" And I thought, great question. Really, really good. But I don't know who the greatest foreign heel is, but I do know that these are 4 of the greatest ones. So I thought we would choose between them. One has to go. Foreign heels. Top left, Bret the Hitman Hart in his Hart Foundation Attitude Edition era. Top right is Alberto Del Rio. In the bottom left, he is Sheiky Baby, Iron Sheik. And in the bottom right, he is the Russian Bear, the Nightmare, Nikita Koloff. One has to go. Foreigners, foreign heels. What are you thinking? Who are you getting rid of?
I think that one's an easy one for me. I'm gonna say Del Rio.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, never really was much of a fan of Del Rio. I thought he was kind of bland. He was also in it, I guess, at the top of his game when I really wasn't
Yeah,
watching a whole lot.
sure, sure.
And when you look at the other guys, I mean, of course, you can't get rid of Bret Hart. I mean, he's the excellence of execution. You got Sheik in there. You know, I think he played a much bigger role in WWF than what Del Rio did in WWE.
Sure.
And as far as Nikita, especially back in that time, you had, of course, everything with the Soviet Union going on,
Yeah, I mean,
and
he
in
was
America,
peak. Yeah, that whole Russian thing. I mean, he did it
yeah,
10 times better uh, than Volkov and those guys. Like, he was just significantly better
yeah, and I mean,
than those guys.
he has the look too. I mean, the dude was a
He
monster.
was a monster, man. The fact that he's just like a normal ass American though is wild to me.
It's
I could
crazy.
have never booked that.
Yeah,
Pretty wild that he did that. Yeah, I
so
mean, so I was actually a Del Rio. I like Del Rio. I thought the armbar thing was cool. I thought him coming out in the car was fun. The personal announcer was always really cool. I saw him wrestle in Ring of Honor in like 14, maybe 13, 14. And I don't know. I liked him as that part. So for me, I am. I'm actually. I gotta get rid of him too because he's of those three. Obviously, he's the least. But he was successful in this. I couldn't predict that he would have come in and won the world title because
yeah, me neither.
it was on like I was barely watching WWE then. But he really came in on top, which is crazy to me because that just doesn't seem like something Vince would do. You know what I mean? Like in reality, that just doesn't seem like something Vince would do. But I thought it was really cool. Obviously, I was a JBL guy too, and I thought he kind of had the same gimmick as JBL. And so, but just obviously of the Hispanic descent. But those other three, yeah, Nick Koloff, the Russian sickle clothesline was so awesome. I used to love that Jim Ross call, and I love the NWA production back then when I would see it, and so I always thought that was really cool. Seeing it later in life, obviously. And then Sheik, I saw a really cool Sheik clip the other day where Sheik does a cartwheel out of a. He was like whipped against the rope, and then he did a cartwheel, and it's something you would see like now, and people are like, oh, they're making. Sorry, excuse me. They're making fun of wrestling. They'd be like, oh, they're mocking wrestling. I'm like, man, I saw this clip, and I was like, Sheik did this way before the Young Bucks, way before those guys did it. It was incredible. And I was like, damn, that was really awesome. And then obviously Bret Hart as a heel. As a kid, my sister's favorite wrestler was Bret Hart. So I only knew him really as a babyface. So when he was a heel, that was such a huge thing for me because he was like a really great bad guy for no reason other than he was just like, no, I am really good. You guys should like me. You guys should be cheering me. I am the reason WWE or WWF still exists. I got us through the new generation era. And I was like, damn, this is really he was so good, right? He was just a great heel because he didn't really have to cheat, but he was just like a great foil for everybody because he always put on great matches. So, yeah, man, I get rid of Del Rio. I should have made that harder, I guess.
Yeah, and when I think the other three have had a much more long lasting impact on wrestling. I mean, maybe you could argue
Thousand
Nikita a
percent.
little bit, but
Sure.
of course the Sheik and Bret Hart. I mean,
Yeah.
they have definitely made a I mean, the Sheik, he was famous on Twitter for calling
Sheiky.
Hulk Hogan a jabroni every day
I
for
think
the.
I think it's still out there every day.
It's crazy, man.
Oh
But yeah,
man.
I feel like that they definitely made a more of a lasting impact than Del Rio did for sure.
Well, one has to go. We did it, Tyler. We made it to the end, man. What are you excited for before we go? What are you excited for in wrestling in the next week, or maybe I might not see you for a couple of weeks. What are you excited for?
I would say definitely Survivor Series, man. I'm kind of interested to see where the bloodline thing goes. I'm really hoping it'll be the Usos, Roman, and Sammy instead of Cody. That would be awesome. But
I
who
think
knows?
as well having
That's
Sammy in that match would make it way better.
yeah, and I think that would also kind of give him a little bit of a direction in a time where it seems like he might not have much of a direction. So I think that'd really benefit him too.
Sure. Yeah, man, I'm excited to see what happens with wrestling. Obviously, we got no big events next weekend, and then it's the following weekend is Saudi for the Crown Jewel. And then 2 weeks after that, we will go to, or 3 weeks after that, we'll go to Full Gear. And then the following weekend is Survivor Series. And so it just, the hits don't stop in professional wrestling right now. It is as hot as it's ever been. If you're a fan, let us know. Comment below. Let us know what your thoughts are on the pod. We want to know what you're thinking, man. Thanks for joining us. Tyler, thank you as always.
Absolutely.
Until next time, when we go around the mat.